Hello, and welcome to another edition of Unpopular Reviews.
That's right. Now this time we are doing Ace Ventura Pet Detective. This one came out in 1994. It is actually right off the heels of, I believe, the final season of In Living Color. So, this was kind of right out of the gate of In Living Color to, Jim Carrey doing that to being in this movie. And I think that you'll see throughout it, it definitely shows, a lot of the things that he did in Living Color, he brought to this. It wasn't the exact same characters, but the same mannerisms, were definitely on showcase in this movie. So I think it is a sign of, he was just doing those things. He was popular for those things. So he said, okay, let's ride that into this movie and let's see how well it does. This was definitely an interesting premise. You've got a he comes in, looks like he's a delivery guy. You can see what looks like a pillow in his shirt. So obviously you can tell that's fake. He's kicking this box that says fragile or glass on it, all over the place. I mean, he's literally just intentionally trying to destroy this thing. All while walking to his destination. I mean, every step he's taken, he's battering this thing. So you can tell he really doesn't care about this package. It's about wherever he's going. I mean, you can tell that right off the bat. He goes in, knocks on the guy's door, has him, sign these forms. Doesn't even make any excuses that the package is broken. In fact, he uses that as a reason to get the guy distracted signing forms. He checks out the dog, says, okay, you were good here. Have a good day. He walks off. You see that the dog is actually in his shirt. The guy looks over, tells the dog, hey, come back from the door. He runs over, and it's a fake dog with a you've been fooled by Ace Ventura on there.
Yes.
He comes out, obviously, his car can't start. You can see, he's not, in the best of financial situations with his car. But, he comes out, car's not starting, and then boom, the guy's out there with a bat and, goes right into being Jim Carrey, making light of the situation, joking, and then gets out of there. I mean, it sets the stage and the tone for what this movie is going to be about.
Yes.
And it is hilarious throughout. I mean, he really delivers the classic Jim Carrey that from In Living Color throughout this entire movie. And I think that's what really sold it to a lot of people, is because it was, again, coming fresh off the heels of In Living Color right to this movie. I mean, you can see all of the things that came from In Living Color showcased here. And I think it serves them well.
Oh yes, I mean no, I think this, I see this as his championship belt. I see this as, his one of his best movies ever. I see this as the thing that led him, to just the next level. Mind you, they made another movie. They made a cartoon.
I remember the cartoon.
They made a show with a whole nother little kid. Just with this content, because this whole idea was just amazing. But not just that, just from the beginning of the movie, it showed you how brilliant he was, because that was just genius.
Yeah. He didn't want to really confront this guy. He wanted a dog, but he didn't really want to confront this guy. He used his smarts.
Yep, for real.
He outsmarted him.
For real. And that was just brilliant. And that part right there, really, I remember the first time I saw it, like, oh wow, that was cool. Like, really got him into it really got me into the movie. And more than anything, it's just like his ability to just be incredibly immature and constantly, like, my favorite thing is just, man, I'm tired of being right. Like, every single time that he's right, and just overly immature about it is just beautiful to me because I'm not gonna lie, I love doing that. I do. Like if I'm right, then you know, and if I'm in an argument or whatever, yeah. Can you feel it? Huh? Oh, that is just I love.
You talked about how the last movie we reviewed, Liar Liar, was one that you had seen, hundreds of times probably.
This one too.
You rocked the tape until it popped.
That's right.
This is that movie for me. I saw this so many times. This was probably, there's a lot of influence that, TV, especially for our generation, had on our lives. But I attribute this movie, and I go back and I watched it again, in my adult lens. But I attribute this movie to a lot of my mannerisms. Like a lot of the stuff that I would do was based off of how Ace acted. You know, the all righty thens, the movements.
Yes.
When he was faced with so when he talked about doing the when he was going to his friend in the police department, to get some ideas on the case. He started bending over and talking with his butt. Like that. I mean, I didn't really do that one, but that's the type of stuff that was like, okay, I can see myself. Actually, I think I did do that with my ex. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was then when he was faced with Reinhorn, I think that was what it was, or Linehorn, one of the two. He was in her face, and then just like kind of whipped away and then walked out the door. I mean, those are the kind of mannerisms I had. That over the top, really exaggerated mannerisms. I definitely was showcasing those. Definitely throughout my younger years, and into my young adult time. Because of Jim Carrey. There was a lot of stuff that Jim Carrey did that I resonated with, and this was the movie that really started that. But I really like this. This movie was definitely over the top. I mean, 1994. So I was in high school. Just starting high school or maybe second year. But so definitely the young teen, and so I could understand most of the things that were happening in here. When he did bring back the initial pet to the owner, and she expressed her gratitude. Just like,
That was wild.
like,
That was.
and again, Jim Carrey showcasing his physical comedy talents. He was all over the place. It's like it was so exaggerated.
Even
And
the music, like you already knew it was about to go down. Like, as soon as you saw it, just like, oh my god, you saw those big titties, and then you just hear the music.
I mean, it was definitely a classic '90s, sex
Like,
scene music coming up.
you knew it was about to be some bow chicka bow wow. She's like, "How about I take off your pants instead?" And then she disappears. What the hell? And he's like, "For the love of Pete, real friendly around here." What? Yeah. And that's starting the movie. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it definitely set the tone for everything. Um, throughout he's just his comedic stylings. When he went to the party, to see if that rich guy was the one that took it. I mean, him doing the kind of Mission Impossible thing, just unnecessary. The door was right there. Instead of walking to it, even though he knew no one was looking at him, the type of stuff, jumped over the railing, pretended to almost slip, jumped back. I mean, these are types of things that I would do, just be in my own imagination. And this is why I love this. This resonated so much with me.
You know what? Where it resonated with me was the way that he flirted.
Hmm.
Um, because it was just so hilarious, but so effective. Because especially when he went to the party with Melissa, she's like, "You better not do everything to embarrass me." He's like what? I was just like, yo, man. And the whole time he just kept cracking jokes and all of that. And then another thing, and I've used this, right? Like, you start telling a story, a little tone, and then you get the real, like, interested. It's like, no, look. Yo, that's it. I've used that so many times. And like and it create then people like hit you. They're like, oh my god, I can't put that. But that shit, telling you, that is just a great way of just like messing with somebody and flirting and stuff. It works.
Mhm.
I've gotten some flirting tips from this movie. I mean, I don't need them anymore. I'm getting married in a month. But listen,
Congrats.
thank you. But listen, this movie is great. So the single, just pay attention to how you flirt because it's just amazing.
The video you talk about how he was, doing those parts when he was walking up to the door. Those are the type of things I would do when I'm dating anyone. You know, they're usually the woman's, a little bit more reserved. Especially when we're in public or walking around. Okay, reserved. Not really trying to draw attention. And me, I'm just being outlandish, just because, hey, I've got captive audience, so I'm gonna just show up. I don't really care about. Really, the thing is, I don't really care about anyone else that's around. I'm trying to put on a show for you, and it's going to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those kind of fun things, yeah, I think those are kind of things that most women will appreciate. Because they do know, okay, yeah, you're doing that for me. You're not really doing it for you to get attention. You're doing it for me to show me the attention. So,
Yeah. So now, and mind you, one of my favorite parts of that entire dynamic is when they went to Shady Acres.
oh,
Mind you, that was just one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. Just him, acting like a guy with special needs and just going over the top with it.
listen, my mom used to live in a townhouse. We had a couch in the basement, and it was like where it was kind of in the middle of the room, so you could get behind it, and you could walk around like it was plenty of space. I would always reenact that bush scene in the back of the couch. I would just jump over the couch into the cushions. You know, I just be yelling at the top of my lungs, "Blue 49, Rover, Rover," and I would just dive over. My mom would come down. What the heck are you doing? Oh, nothing.
So funny too.
You know, I loved this
Oh,
movie
man.
when I was younger.
Wait,
Like
did you
this
ever
was
do,
this
wait,
was my movie.
did you ever do super slow mo?
I did the super slow mo too. Two other people. Two other people. I remember. I think I did that in the lunchroom one time. Plus, I also played. I played high school football, so I didn't do it on the field, but
No,
I did do it in the lunchroom. And because I wouldn't really say I was a class clown, but I definitely acted up. Um, and I think again, part of it was Jim Carrey. Like his mannerism really resonated with me. But yeah, I definitely did the super slow mo, especially the part where he hits the guy and he bounces off. Let's see that again. Hit an instant replay. I definitely did that. I definitely did the instant replay.
Oh man, just thinking back in this movie, bro. This is like, you got to be careful because this is headache laughing, bro. Like, this is when you laugh so much your cheeks hurts and your neck and your head.
You start getting lightheaded.
Yeah, bro, because this is just back after back, funny after funny, bro. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then the thing about it is just it's always hilarious, but then it's fucking brilliant. Because
Yeah.
look, halftime, and mind you, I'm sure that was the signal for her to know when she could leave him alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that whole thing was just brilliant.
And
Halftime,
he did it right at the door he knew he needed to go into.
exactly. Like that was just genius, and that's a great thing about him. Like he's just this goofball, but he's genius. Now, speaking about that, because if we talk about every part of this movie, we're gonna go too long, because it's just too funny, bro. Like the other thing that I thought was genius was when they found Roger Pedactor dead,
Oh yeah.
and then he and loser.
Hello. Is that her? That was another thing that I adopted, and I would always be saying, just messing with people. Um, and definitely that whole thing with him, nah, nah, that whole scene, I have exercised. I use that. I still use that to this day.
I love it.
The all righty then. I still use that
Love it.
to this day. I said it when I was leaving work today.
Oh, righty, man. That
You
is
know,
what? Oh man, take that.
like this movie, especially that scene, that was hilarious. Him just setting it up and just knocking it out the park.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. And it definitely, yeah, showcased the character. Yeah, they have this visage of being goofy, but it is to hide that they are incredibly intelligent and observant. It was really the observancy. He
Yeah.
found the ring, the stone, the gem, and he noticed on the rich guy's ring. Hey, wait a second, this gem is that I found over here is just like the one in the ring. Oh, I can connect those dots. It's got to be someone that had this ring because all of these rings, every Super Bowl ring is unique.
You know what's crazy though? When I first saw this movie, I didn't know anything about Captain Kirk. Right now, after being in this group, I know about Captain Kirk. Right, so now it hit different that scene when he goes in the pool and he's like, Captain, and he's like doing all of this stuff. But now it hits differently because he finds the pebble, but that's because he was acting like William Shatner at the time and putting himself in like a detective mode and all of that. So like that whole thing just hit different this time. And then when he turns into the French guy, I did. Yo, this fucking guy, I swear to God. I was in the train busted out laughing today. This movie, bro. And people were like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Because I could not hold in the laughter. This fucking movie. I swear. The endorphins that you create, Jim Carrey, you're a national treasure if you ever
He
watch.
definitely is. This, like I said, I watched this movie tons of times, but there was something that I didn't catch until this playthrough, probably because I just wasn't thinking about it and I was just laughing so much. But when he, he kind of he tells Lieutenant Reinhorn, "Okay, listen, I figured it out. It's Finkel, and obviously, you've seen the movie, which you probably have if you're watching this. Finkel is Reinhorn. So, she's like, okay, okay, he's found me out. What can I do to kind of throw him off? Or at least he's getting close. So she kisses him, and then she like pushes him on the table, and he's like, oh, your your gun is digging into my hip. I didn't realize, I didn't think about it until now that wasn't his gun. That was his gun, you know. And even though he says it later in the movie, after he's, chewing on all of the gum, like a whole pack of gum in one. I just thought he was saying it because, oh, how could I have been so foolish as to, kind of fall for it? But, he was thinking back, oh no, that was his penis that was digging into me. I was mistaken it for a gun. It was hilarious. I didn't even catch that, but it tracked.
You know what I found weird about it? When the big reveal at the end, everybody was just like trying to clean their mouth. Tone Lock was like scratching his teeth. Like everybody was just like trying to clean their mouth because that just made me think like, yo, she really got around. That's
She
why she
did.
got that spot. If all of them is doing that, like she was just damn. She was just all. It doesn't matter whether whatever, but she just got all around. If that's really what happened, because even Dan Marino like was just oh no, but she did kiss him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she did force herself. I mean, that was Dan Marino was his obsession.
yeah. So like, that whole scene, that whole thing was just wild to me because once they found it out, everybody was like, oh. But then at the same time, it just reveals how she was able to get to that
Manipulate
spot.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, manipulate everybody, right? But then here's another thing. I don't know if you pay attention, and I feel like this is a tell. When you first see her after he's being like Mr. Ass,
Hmm.
a better phrase, and she first shows up, the first thing that he says is, "Holy Testicle Tuesday." And I noticed that today, right? And now because I know what happens at the end of the movie, I'm just thinking to myself, like, yo, is that a tell? Like, is that a.
I was thinking about that when I heard it because it didn't really strike me until watching it again. And I was like, wait a second, is that like them kind of giving it away? You know,
Yeah,
watch it again is like kind of giving it away, or is
yeah,
that just him? Because it could just be okay. He's showing that he's aroused because she looks good, but using that specific framework to say it like, oh yeah, this is for your second watch. Because we know you're going to watch this again because it's hilarious. This is for your second watch. This is for when you get the VHS because that's what it used to be.
facts.
You would go see it in the movies, maybe once or twice, and then you wait for it to come to Blockbuster. And when you watch it in Blockbuster, you hear that like, wait a second, you know, it's
Yep.
that meme that's going around with uh, Leonardo DiCaprio, and he points out like,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, you were trying to tell us right at the beginning, but we didn't know on the first watch. But yeah, I think that there could have been a call out to it, you know.
Yeah, that just felt different today. Like, was that? But today might have been watch 300. You know what I'm saying? Especially 'cause
Mhm.
I haven't watched it in maybe 10 years. So like today, it just hit. It hit
I
hard.
mean, I've watched. I haven't watched the full movie in probably that long as well, but I've definitely watched clips of it because it always comes back to my mind, and I
Mm,
always keep going to YouTube, finding a certain clip just so I can get it. Kind of like an earworm. It's a mind worm. You guys got to watch that clip so you can get it out your head. That the balcony scene, in the apartment. I watched that one. Probably 300 times.
hmm
Um, but yeah, all of the clips in here. I mean, all of this whole movie, it was fantastic from beginning to end. It was just nonstop classic in living color. Jim Carrey, you know,
That's
fantastic performance. He really really dove into it, and again, it does show because all of the spinoffs, second movie, cartoon, young version.
hmm
This thing really hit, and it really hit hard, and it's definitely because he made the character work.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and the thing is, any like for animal lovers and people that are like into, um, just other creatures on this planet. Um, that part of it really resonated with me because not just because like I'm a plant guy, like I'm into plants and all of that, but what I liked about it is just that how precise he was with it. Like he knew, like when you were talking about specific things, like the amount, it was like he was an encyclopedia. Like he just knew like scientific names of these things and all of that, and it's brilliant the way that they built this character. I,
Mm-hmm.
like this way, like he's really a detective. Um, and I thought this was just great. I really did. Like, there's so many things that can be said, but if I do, I'm gonna drag it out, and I always got to be careful of that because this shit right here. Okay, now bye bye.
I think you really hit it. This wasn't his character wasn't a failed cop. He
Mm-hmm.
was an actual detective that didn't want to find humans. He's like, I don't do humans.
Mm-hmm.
That was his whole thing. Like, yeah, he is a great detective, but it's for animals. That's what's his passion. So he used his skill set for animals instead of humans. It wasn't like, oh, he used to be in the forest and now he's, doing this instead. It was no, he chose to do this and he's very good at it. I think that is great storytelling in that fact.
And we didn't mention this, but his interactions with Aguado were just great. That whole roach scene, and shit was just amazing.
He was like, "Uh oh, homicide! What are you gonna do?" But first, we've got to find a motive. Looks like the killer saw Roach's massive penis and got jealous. And then, I lose about 40 pounds porking your wife.
And then all of a sudden, he goes to swing at him, and all of a sudden, you just see him now kissing makeup.
Kiss and makeup.
This guy.
It shows that it wasn't that he wasn't good enough to be a cop. He just really wanted to do this instead, and he was good at it.
I mean, listen, I think he would have been an amazing cop. He just, chose a different route, and mind you, he chose the right route. Look, look at the end of the movie. Look at the end of the movie. But even though, and this, and mind you, the movie was just hilarious to the end. Oh, hey, Charmaine. The movie was just hilarious to the end, to the very, very, very end.
The very end, and that is the part that I want to, get to our final thoughts on, because I've got a special for, our executive consultant who isn't here, but I'm sure will watch this episode. I've got a special little portion that is my favorite. But let's start with you, Vic. What's your highlights of this movie and your final thoughts?
Oh man, that is a toughie, bro. Because, like I said, I was just laughing from beginning to end, from just the first kick of the box. I mean, that, like, from the first kick of the box to the last punch of Polly, like, I was just dying from beginning to end. I admire how brilliant this movie is. In the jungle, the mighty jungle. Yeah, even that part when he smashed, like, like that a wee more, and you know how long that stuck?
Now, I don't know if it was on purpose, but they showed the squirrel at the end because he got the nut.
That's right. Right. That's right. Ain't never but a squirrel looking for a nut. You know what I mean? And here's the funny thing. When you go to the park and you actually see squirrels doing that, like looking for the acorns and burying them and shit like that, and it just gives you thoughts like, I ain't nothing but a squirrel looking for a nut. But nobody means it that way. But still, it's just hilarious when you think about it. You know what I mean? And that's what they showed in this movie. And man, listen, I'm talking too much, but clearly it's a thumbs up, because there's just too much to say. There's so much that you reenact in this movie throughout the years. Oh man, this brings back just a lot of great memories from the late '90s and the early 2000s. Because man, this is just incredible.
I'd have to say, for me, one of my favorite parts is near the end, or right at the end. He's trying to get that $25,000 reward for albino pigeon. Out of the blue, it lands there. He's going up to it, and then right at the last second, the Eagles mascot knocks it out the way. He's like, thanks, buddy. It's cost me money. Pushes him, starts punching him, and he just starts kicking the crap out of the Eagles mascot. And at this point in time, the Eagles had gone 61 consecutive years without winning a Super Bowl. Because they didn't win a Super Bowl until 2018. So 1994, they were founded in 1933. 61 years at this point with no Super Bowl ring. So it was just par for the course for them to get beat up at the Super Bowl.
Damn, I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know they had Chicago Cubs swag like that. Yo, that's wild. That's wild.
So that's a little tidbit for the executive consultant to watch back on. But listen, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for being with us. For Vic, I've been the Next Doctor. You've been watching Unpopular Reviews. We will catch you in the next one.
Good night, child.
Good night.
Take care now. Bye-bye.